This is Jim Kaufman with Rankin Technical College. Um, I wanted to create a video about the chapter 14 and 15 labs for the C Sharp Fundamentals course. So to get started here on that, we've got four different labs here. I believe it's four different labs here, and I would suggest that maybe you save the Lab 3 for last, the booster pack one for the Pokemon cards. It's a little more complex, and I think the other ones will be a little bit easier for you. So that's how I suggest maybe do 1, 2, and 4, and then come back at the end and do number 3. And actually, I'm not going to cover. I think I want to figure out how I really want to cover this lab 3 since it is a little more complicated. So I'm going to cover right now. I'm going to cover labs 1, 2, and 4. And I'll show you. I'm not going to show you the exact code for this, but I will. I want to go through a few concepts that's related. Um, so just to review here. So here the first one, lab ones, is letters, and so here you're creating either a letter or a certified letter, and the UML diagram shows how letter letter and actually certified letter, they both inherit from the system object. So just wanted to make sure that there's no confusion here. You don't need to create the system object. It's just telling you that you inherit from this, right? Because we're going to be overriding the toString object of the system object. Okay, we're going to be overriding the toString object that's already available for all classes, and that's basically really what this is showing. So don't worry about this little box up here. You're just going to be creating a letter and a certified letter. Okay. So letters cost 50 cents to send. Certified letters cost an additional 15 cents to send, but include a tracking number. So you have a tracking number with your certified letter. The users can send up to 20 letters. Every time a letter is sent, it will be added to the top of the transaction log. Okay. Not, most of the time we always add something to a list. When we add it, it's always going to be the last one in the list, right? But we want to have either kind of two different ways to do this. You can either add it, you can just add it as normal, and then you can, just print it out in reverse order, or I'm going to show you a different way to do that as well. Okay. So you can store the list of letters in a single array or a list. If the letter does not include a tracking number, if the letter does not include a tracking number, then instantiate a letter object. Let me make sure I kind of underline this. Does not include a tracking number, instantiate letter object. If letter includes a tracking number, then instantiate a certified letter object. So basically that's here. So if you have a tracking number, a pretty basic screen here. So if it has a tracking number, you're going to go ahead and create a certified letter. Otherwise, you're going to create a regular letter. So I wanted to go through a little bit here. And basically in the system object, it's showing that this toString is defined as virtual, meaning that it can be overwritten. Just because something is assigned designated as virtual, don't mean you have to override it. It just means you can override it. Okay. So we've always, in most of the things we've already looked at, as far as from a UML perspective, they always had private instance variables, which started with a dash, right? But here for the letter, we have a underscore recipient and underscore send date. And these both have the hash before it, right? The pound sign or hash. And so what that means, that stands for protected. So a pound sign hash or hash means protected. Okay. So you won't be creating private instance variables. You'll be creating protected instance variables. And the thing about protected instance variables, it's available to that class, right? So they'll be accessible by that letter class, but they'll also be accessible to subclasses of this, right? Derived classes. So certified letter is going to inherit from letter, right? So when it inherits from letter, it has access, has visibility, is the right way to say that. It has visibility to the recipient and send date variables here, right? And then we've got these two. So these two are just regular. This is the constructor, which is obviously, whenever you can tell it's the same name as the name of the class, that's going to be constructor. And that has a recipient and a send date, right? And then here is your toString, and you're overriding this. It's telling you overriding this, right? So you're overriding the one from the system object. You're overriding the toString object, and I'll show you an example of doing that. And then also here we've just got getter method, gets only, right? And so you have recipient and send date, right? These are properties. These are properties. And it also has a virtual price method as well that that can be overwritten. Okay, so virtual always means it can be overwritten. So this one will be overwritten in the certified letter class, right? Okay. So next I wanted to, so I think that this is pretty much, okay, well, yeah, so here in certified letter, so you have another protected class. It's kind of probably really not necessary here. It's just, this is what it's saying. This is what it's telling you about, that go ahead and create this as protected. But it's really only beneficial for the most part if you're going to be if something else is going to be inheriting from this one. You could probably in most cases make it private in here, the certified letter, but that's okay. Go ahead and make that protected as well. It's just kind of, I guess, a little practice. You know, whenever you see a pound, you want to make it a protected. And then here we just got the certified letter. So obviously if it says certified letter, you know this is a constructor. And in this certified letter, what's different about the certified letter as opposed to the letter, right? So it also has a tracking number. The certified letter has the recipient and the send date. So obviously that's not defined up here because that's going to be inherited. It's going to be inherited from the letter, okay? And I'll show you a little bit. I'll show you a little bit of examples for that as well. And then here you're overriding the toString object. Okay, and then you've got here's your properties, which is the tracking number property, all right? And you're overriding the price here, but you're also adding the tracking number, right? You'll be able to use for your date time, right? For your set date and recipient, you'll be using the properties of the parent class or the base class, right? Which is letter. So the only one you'll need to add is also the tracking number for the certified letter. Okay, let me show you. I want to kind of go over these concepts a little bit more. So here I've created a, this is nothing to do with the one we're looking at, right? This is just kind of another example just to kind of show you the same concepts. So in this case, I've got a vehicle object, a vehicle class, and a car class, right? The car class, this is how you inherit from a different class, right? By using the colon and then the name of the class you're inheriting. So vehicle is the superclass or the parent class, right? Or the base class. All three of those are the same, right? Superclass, parent class, or base class. And that is the vehicle. And the car is either considered a subclass, a derived class, or a child class. And they all refer to the same thing, right? They're all inheriting from something else, right? When something inherits from something else, that means it's the derived or subclass or the child class, right? So back to vehicle here. So here we've got a protected, right? And we've seen in the UML that's going to be designated by a hash or a pound sign, right? is protected. So here's a protected field. It can be accessed by this class and all derived classes. So any class that derives this, right? Any class that you inherits from this has access to this, right? Here's the constructor to initialize the brand. Here is a method, which is designated as a virtual method. And so this virtual method can be overwritten in the derived class. If this didn't have virtual here, it wouldn't be able to be overwritten in a child class, right? And then here, this is overriding the toString method, and it's basically overriding that one that's in the system class, right? In the system object, right? And I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple things on that as well. Okay, so here in our car, we have a private variable called model, private instance variable called model, right? So this obviously this is only available within the car, right? And then here's the constructor to initialize both the brand and the model. Brand isn't defined here, right? Brand is defined here, right? It's defined here, and it's protected, so the subclass has access to that, right? But this is how you want to do that. When you create your constructor, you want to do it just like this. You have a brand, you have a model, and then you include what you're inheriting, right? You're inheriting that brand, so this is the base, and you do brand just like that, okay? And that's basically stating that this is from the base class, right? The super class, which is vehicle. Here you're basically doing we seen in the vehicle, we had the virtual display info, had virtual in there. Here we're overriding it. And here we're overriding the toString as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and just run this. And I know, there's nothing here really but I'm gonna make some changes just to show you how some things work. So here you got a vehicle toString, right? The vehicle toString, it says vehicle brand, okay, is generic brand, right? The car toString object, so both the vehicle class and the car class both overwrote the toString method, right? They're different. In the vehicle one, it's printing this, right? And then in the car toString method, it's printing this, okay? But let me show you. So let's take car here, this car toString. Let's go to that one. We're going to comment out the toString method, right? We're going to comment that out. Okay, and so when I comment this out here in car, so I'm going to save this. So I kind of didn't show you where this is called. It's called, this is a console app, so it's called from here. And so right here, it's do a console write on your toString. So it's calling vehicle toString, right? And it's also calling car toString. Well, car doesn't have a toString method, but by default, every class inherits a toString method, okay? It inherits a toString method. So I mean, it inherits the base toString method, right? But there's nothing special. But I'm going to show you what this is probably going to work out maybe a little different when you expect. But let's go ahead and take a look. So it's calling toString in here, right? So this is available to us from that system object, obviously. And same here, toString, but we overrode it here. We overrode it in vehicle, but we didn't override it in car because I commented that out. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. Let's see what the toString look. It says vehicle brand and has a brand, right? So let's just run that. And as you can see, what this did was, since we are inheriting the vehicle, right? We're inheriting the vehicle um, from a car object. It's using the toString of the parent class, the base class. So it is actually using the one that was overwritten in vehicle, since it's inheriting it, right? Now, what if, which, makes sense, right? But let's say we go ahead and comment this out. Okay, but that we, as we already stated, that toString object is available through the system object, right? So we can actually go. So we commented out the toString both in the vehicle and the car. Now, let's go back to here. So we have this toString here, right? If we just kind of highlight that, right click, and do go to definition, let's see where it goes. This actually goes to the system object. This is showing you the toString, right? It's showing you the toString object from the system object. Okay? It's just showing you that's where that's coming from. Since you commented both out, it's going to use the default one that's available in the system object library from C#, right? So let's go ahead and run this. And if we run this, you'll see it does do something. It's just going to do the namespace dot name of the class. So this will do a lab example dot vehicle. The other one's going to do lab example dot car, right? So it's using the base one that's in the system object. And then let's just, for the heck of it, let's go back to vehicle here, and let's go ahead and uncomment that one. I just think it's important to kind of understand what's using what, where it's coming from. Okay, so now we've got the vehicle one. We've already did this, right, where we had the car one commented out, but we still use the vehicle one, right? If I go into our program here, and if I even go to the car one, just, ideas so you can learn how to move around and evaluate what you're doing here. So if I go to the car object, the toString, we already knew, because we already did this just a couple minutes ago, where it actually inherited the one from vehicle, which we kind of expected. So just, so you can always check these things. You could right click on this and then go to definition, and let's see where it goes. It'll go to the vehicle object, right? Go to the vehicle object. And then if we do this one here, obviously we go back to program. Let's highlight this again, go to definition. It's going to stay within the car object. Okay. So, it's very helpful to be able to go to definition, especially when you start inheriting different methods. When you're inheriting different classes, and then you're trying to figure out, well, where's this method coming from? This is one way to do that. You can go to the definition of that method, and it'll see where it's coming from, right? Which methods it's calling, basically, right? So that's that. What else did I want to go through in here? I think that's about it. So the constructor, yeah, just remember the constructor. You want to make sure that you also include the variable that's from the base, right? And that was brand. So that you have that, so that you can use, when you create a new car object, you can have that, right? All right, that's about it, I think, for that. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to show you. So, whenever you create so I have this list here, right? This car list. It's of type list, right? We've done this already in the class multiple times for different assignments. So, but whenever you add a, we typically always did the add, right? So we did the car list, right? And then we do an add on that. So whenever you do this, right, it's going to add this Toyota. And then if you also did an add the Ford and add it to Honda, it would be Toyota, Ford, and then Honda, right? So the first one in the list would be Toyota, the second one would be Ford, and the third one in the list would be Honda, right? So I did want to show you one way. So let's say you wanted to print that out in a different order. You can you can do that by manipulating, by doing it a certain way, by looping through the list. But another way that you can actually, if you want to make sure that you always add the last one, and because I'm bringing this up because in the labs, there's a couple different places where it says add something to the top, right? So what you can actually do is, in this case, you can insert at a certain part, right? So when you insert this Toyota at the index 0, okay, it'll add it. It'll be the first one available, right? Now, if you do a carless insert a Ford, actually what happens here, this doesn't like replace it. You gotta be careful and think about where you're at with things, because like in a list, if you are an array list, if you walk through an array list, and if you change the value of something at subscript 0, right, at the 0 index, you change the value of that, it's going to change the value of that. But it's a little different here, right? So basically it's just saying insert this at the 0 index. The next one, the Ford, it's saying insert this at the 0 index. So what will happen is actually push the Toyota down. So when you add that Ford will now be the first one on the list. Toyota will be the second one on the list. Then if you do this one more time for the Honda will be the first one on the list. The second one on the list will be Ford. The third one on the list will be Toyota. Okay, just kind of like pushes them down. So let's just kind of run this so we can see that we added Toyota, Ford, and Honda. So when we see it printed out here, when we're printing it out right here, right, we should see this in the reverse order: Honda, Ford, Toyota. So let's go look at that. So list of things, it has Honda, Ford, Toyota, right? It's printing out this whole thing. But the last one, right, then the second one, and then the first one that you added. So that's just one way, because I know that I believe the bank thing asked to, make sure that you add to the top so that your latest transaction, a withdrawal, well, that's later on. A withdrawal deposit, that's a different one, that it's the first one in the list, right? Here, for your letters and stuff, same thing. You went to the last letter first, right? So it can work for that as well. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here I really wanted to go over. I don't think so. Okay, so please let me know if you have any more questions about the first lab, the letters one. Then here's a second one. This is photos. And basically what you're doing here is you're writing an app where the different prices for different size photos. Customers can add either a matte finish or a frame. The matted photos are additional $10. Frame photos are additional $25. Okay. We're going to override the two-string method, just like we did, like we just looked at. So we're going to override the two-string method on the photos, matted photo, and frame photo classes, so they can display all the information in the fields. And I kind of really didn't mention that. That's really usually basically what people do for overriding a two-string method, and so you can. It's an easy way, from a console app, or the same thing works from a window forms app. It's a way to print out what the values of everything is, and it's very helpful in debugging too. If you want to debug things when you have multiple objects and stuff, you can do the two-string method to see what the values are. But so here we're going. So here it's basically that first one's telling you, like we talked about, you don't create the object class, right? That already exists. That's already exist in the .NET C# language, right? So here's photo. Photo has these two protected ones, underscore width, underscore height. You have photo. Photos are your constructor. You're overriding the two-string method. And then you have a a width, a height, and a price. These are your properties. You have both get and set on these, or well, get and set on the float. On the width and height, you get a get and set on both of them. Where the price here, you're just doing a get. So basically what you're doing, since you're doing a get, you're going to want to do the equation. You want to calculate the price in here. Okay, you want to calculate the price in here. But you overwrite the price. You overwrite the price for the Matic photo, and you overwrite the price for the frame photo as well, right? Kind of follows the same thing we were looked at almost kind of in the last one. You know, you've got your protected fields. You got your protected fields. You have your constructor. You're overriding the toString. And then here's your properties, color and price. And here's material, style, and price. You got 3 enums here. So we already have a little experience doing that when we did the order one with the soda and the sundae. Here on the probably best to go ahead and use a group box, right? That's what this is pretty much telling you, to use a group box in the as far as the UI element. So there's a frame, you know, it already has a name that you can put in there: frame, color, material, style. So each one of these is a separate group box. And then you go ahead and group your radio buttons. These are radio buttons as opposed to before we did check boxes, right? So these are radio buttons. So I'm not going to go over too much more of that one. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and skip for now this booster pack. This is actually inheriting an interface. And there's going to be a bunch of photos involved here too. I'm going to push those photos to your repository so you can have those. But I'm going to figure out what we're going to do about that one in a separate video here. Okay, so the bank one here. So let's look at this. This is very similar. This is like the Wayland Bank, right? We've already kind of did this to a certain extent, right? The only thing different is you've got some more logic. So you have an account, right? An account object. So you should have already created that in the Chapter 12 labs. If you didn't complete this lab, then you'll need to create an account for that one. And then silver account inherits, right, from account. And then gold account inherits from silver account, right? And this here, it's actually showing something we really haven't done. There might be a couple students that have kind of done this a little bit, but you've got your main form, which is the bank bank here. Then you have another form, which actually is display. So one form is going to call another form, okay? And you're going to pass data from one form to another form. So I'm going to take a look at that. Okay, no UML here. Basically, you just need to read this to figure out what you need to do here. But you are going to have different accounts here. You have an account, a silver account, and a gold account. So bronze, silver, and gold, right? And I guess the regular account's the bronze account. Let me show you a little code on this. Might be helpful. So here is an example. And we've done, this is pretty much, the Wayland Bank, right? This is what, we already created data where you've got an account number and a PIN, a name and a value, right? But here, just created different, you have a list of accounts, these accounts, right? An account can be of different type. It could be of the type of a silver account, a gold account, or just a regular account, right? So here we have a list of accounts. And in this case, we're doing a couple silver accounts and a couple gold accounts. All right. I'm not going to show you all the logic in here, but this, just an idea of what to do here on this. Just different, whatever implementation you want to do, you can do it differently. But this is an idea of just creating account here, a silver account, and a gold account, and then there's your data, right? And then here's your silver account. And the silver account really is not doing much here. It's basically just setting the name, the account number, the PIN, and the balance, right? And it's getting that from, and you're actually using the one from the base class. Name, account number, PIN, balance. And this is all you really need to do in this scenario, in this situation, is create this public constructor, and you're going to create a silver account based on those directions, right? And it tells you if you need to create a silver one or a gold one. And same thing here with the gold one. You just got a constructor. Make sure you always include your base. Same way, right? And then here, I'm not going to go through a lot, but you know, you need to determine which account you're creating. And then in your directions, let's go back to that real quick. So here's showing a separate window. So your silver account can have a minimum balance of $1,000 and can also print out their past 10 transactions showing a separate window. And actually, you know, this is the same thing here. Do not pay any charges. Accounts with minimum balance and can print a fancy statement. You know, obviously you're going to be doing the same thing here. Let me just put that here. So I was just saying, you know, pretty it up a little bit, okay? Pretty up the statement a little bit, you know, just whatever colors, whatever you want to do to pretty it up a little bit. For the gold account, the statement. Silver account is just the basic one, okay? And so let me show you just a quick little example of doing a separate one form calling another form, okay? So here we've got two forms here. I got a form 1 and a form 2. And basically, you know, not very difficult. I'm just creating some, you know, fake data here. It's just a little bit of data. A deposit amount of 2,000, a withdrawal amount of 1,000, another withdrawal, second withdrawal of 3,000. Obviously, you know, for the bank app, you're going to need to get that from the fields, right? And so what I'm doing here is I've created a list. I've created a list of gold statements, you know, and so here, I'm actually, and like I showed earlier about making sure that you add something to the top. So I'm doing the same thing here by inserting this at the 0 position. This is always going to make sure that the last one entered is going to be the first one in the list, right? So that's all I did there. And then on here, all I'm doing is I'm creating I have another form, right? Called, and I give it a name, you know, just like you instantiated the other objects that we've instantiated. You instantiate a print gold state, right? You instantiate this new object and put it in this variable, right? So we have a new form that takes a list, all right? A list. This is going to take a list. We're going to go take a look at that. And so let's just go do that. And then remember, you can always do this and then go to definition. And then here, this is the list, the second form created. And then this is basically it's just looping through statements, right? Here's the list. You got to define it like this, right? What type you're passing in. So you're typing a string list, a list of strings, and it's a group of statements, not really statements, but it's lines. It's a withdrawal. It's a withdrawal, or each one's going to be a withdrawal or a deposit. And then here I'm just looping through these. I'm looping through these, and I'm setting the label to each item in the statement. Okay. Back to the first one. One thing you must do this. So when now you've got this variable, which is your instantiated form, which is form 2, you need to click show dialog. Okay, remember you need to do that. So let's just go ahead and run this. And then so we should see the withdrawal being the first one, then this withdrawal. The deposit should be the last one in the list. And let's open that one up. So here's just call form 2. We click that, and it's going to open up another form. And there's your last withdrawal. There's that second one you entered, and the first thing was your deposit. So it's showing it in reverse order of, how it actually happened, right? So that's that. This shouldn't be too bad because you already have a lot of this. You're just going to have to add some additional logic. You're going to have to add some additional logic for the bronze, silver, and gold, right? There's some additional stuff that you need to do. That's about it. There are 3 different types of accounts. So you just have to do a little bit more logic, add that new window. Shouldn't be bad at all, okay? But like I said, this one here, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead for this third lab. I'm going to go ahead and push all these images to your repositories. So you'll have that. And I'm going to figure out what I'm going to provide for you to help you with this one. Okay. So that's all I have. Thank you very much and have a good day.